Hi, everyone. I'm Mara Webster with SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and thank you so much for tuning in to another one of our conversations at home. Before I hand over to this amazing panel, I wanted to remind everyone watching that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization, and we are currently continuing to raise funds for a COVID-19 Emergency Assistance Fund, which is working to support SAG-AFTRA members who are currently out of work due to all of the closed film and television productions in paying utility bills, making rent, and really making ends meet right now. So please check out the details below this video and consider supporting if you're able to in any way. And without further ado, I want to hand over to the wonderful Dave Karger from Turner Classic Movies, who is going to kick off this amazing conversation with the cast of OZARK.
Thank you so much, Mara, and welcome everybody to this SAG-AFTRA Foundation Conversations at Home with the cast of the official show of Quarantine 2020, OZARK. And it is my pleasure to be here with one of the new cast members who made quite an impression, Tom Pelphrey. Hello, Tom.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, thanks. And then also returning cast members, Janet Mcteer, a three-time SAG Award nominee, I should say. Exactly. Julia Garner is with us as well, two-time SAG Award nominee.
One. Sorry.
No, one.
Sorry.
One for cast and one for your individual performance. That's two.
Oh, I don't know. I guess so. I don't know.
I'm a stickler.
Never mind.
I'm a stickler for the rules. Screen Actors Guild Award winner, Laura Linney. Hello, Laura.
Hi, everyone.
And the reigning male actor in a drama series Screen Actors Guild Award winner. Oh, there was like even a ding there.
No, that was just a great idea I just had.
Jason Bateman.
Can you guys
hello.
hear that inside my head?
Okay, so the third season of Netflix came out on March 27th. How many of the five of you had watched the entire thing by March 31st? Anybody? Jason, you had. Well, you probably were like working on it for months.
Like 1,000 times, yeah.
Right, so exactly.
Yeah, I watched it another 1,000.
So when a season comes out, what do the rest of you do? Laura, do you watch it? Do you binge it? Do you stay away? What's your plan?
I unfortunately, I tend to drag my feet a bit. It takes me a while to get there.
Okay.
So, but I get there.
Okay. Julia, how about you?
I watch it because I'm too curious in a way because it's like 6 months of our lives. So I watch it. I actually watch it. I watch it once because, the first time I want to see if I'm okay, if I'm being really honest. And then I watch it again and I can be more objective and see it as a whole. So I actually watch everything that I do twice in a way. I watch it because the first time, for me, when I watch something, I'm so much in my head and it's so hard for me, but I feel like I have to watch it because I'm also just too curious to not see it. And then I watch it as an audience in a way for the second time. It can be more objective.
How about you, Janet?
I FaceTime Laura Linney instead. It's true. I don't watch it. I haven't watched it yet. I've watched bits of it. My husband watches it and sort of vets it and does and goes, "You're all right, Janet, you're okay." Yeah. And then he'll say, "Okay, it's fantastic. It's great." And then I think, okay, that's all I need to know for now. But then I personally like to have a lot more distance before I watch something so that I can watch it as an audience member rather than kind of, I remember the day when that happened.
Right.
So I watched bits of it, but I haven't watched all of it, to be honest. And I probably won't for quite some time because I'm too busy FaceTiming Laura Linney.
I'd like to be doing that too. That sounds fun. I should tell you, Janet, there might be some spoilers in this panel that we're about to do in the next 30 minutes. So yeah, so be careful. Yeah. Tom, what about you? Because this was your debut on the show.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it, but I was upstate and I don't have high-speed internet. So it took me a while to figure out how I could watch it. Eventually I did, and I thought it was great.
I agree. Jason, when you were kind of strategizing with Chris Mundy, and who's the showrunner, and then all of the other executive producers on OZARK, what was the kind of overall vision for season 3?
That's really a question for Chris. All the sort of the macro and a lot of the micro is up to him and his staff. And once he and they are happy with it, they then hand it over to us. And then, you know, it's our turn with it, and it kind of becomes, hopefully, you know, it becomes amplified in certain areas, and certainly it becomes visual, and, you know, you start hearing the words said instead of reading them and all that stuff. It's everybody really enjoys doing their part. You know, everyone's got a lane, and everyone's very good at what they do. I mean, everybody behind the camera, around the camera, these people in front of the camera, you know, the writers, you know, Netflix, MRC, everyone's really takes a lot of pride in what they do. And we're so lucky that we have so many people that take a lot of pride in what they do, and they've come together for this show. Because I do think it yields, you know, the difference between good and great, or kind of all right, and interesting, is it all kind of lives in that margin of people really caring about what they do. And fortunately, the people on the show like the show that they're working on. And I think a lot of us would work on a show half as good, because we all kind of love the process. But the fact that the product ends up being something that I think we would all enjoy as fans is really helpful. So you'd have to ask Chris about the overall thing, but I'm sure happy what he and his group push out each year.
Well, I think you answered that question brilliantly. So, but yes, one day I do want to ask Chris. In the meantime, Laura, it was such a thrill to watch you as Wendy this season. It was just such a fascinating dynamic between her and Marty, but also just to see her kind of take charge of so much in her own life, in the business aspects of things. What did you enjoy most about playing her this go round?
Oh, you know, it's always about the other people. So, you know, it's playing with Janet, it's being with Jason, it's Tom, it's Julia, it's working with the other actors, you know, always. And there were so many fantastic and very different dynamics with each of them. So it was really sort of like a kaleidoscope. You'd be with one person, and then in the next scene you'd have to shift slightly, and everything would be a little different. So it was fun to figure out how to play scenes with different people depending upon what the needs and the stakes were.
Julia, for you, the life of Ruth Langmore is a stressful one. You know, she's just got everything coming down at her from all sides. What's it like for you as a performer to be in a place like that of such stress, you know, for an entire shoot day and weeks?
I mean, it's hard because I after a while when I play something, I start always feeling what the character is feeling, and I don't realize what I'm feeling. And by the end of the shoot, every year I realize, oh, that's because Ruth's feeling that way. But, you know, I will say the month of the first season, it felt like I was getting hit by like a frying pan, like every night coming home. But it got easier once I got to know Ruth more. But I think also a big part of what makes it easier doing these hard scenes is we have such an amazing cast and crew, and everybody's so kind that when you do heavy scenes like that, and you know you're going to set up for the next shot, the energy's not, even though the story and whatever's happening in the situation with the characters, the energy of the people is not heavy amongst one another. So you know, everybody's just super supportive, and it's a super safe, fun, nice environment. So I feel like that makes it just instantly easier to do those kind of scenes in a way when you need to do them. And then you know that you can get out of that headspace. And I feel like everybody has their own moments in this show where they have their heavy headspace in a way, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Janet, for you, it was fascinating to see Helen, who's so tough as nails, in a maternal role. this season with the introduction, of your daughter, the character, of your daughter. What was it like to bring that new angle into your portrayal of Helen?
I was a little nervous of it at first because I felt like seeing her as a normal person, as a mum, would sort of diminish her scary level. And then I sort of talked about it with Chris, the wonderful Chris Mundy, and then thought that the only way I could do that would be to compartmentalize her. So she's either being a mum or she's sort of being scary Helen. And that the idea, I just sort of enjoyed the idea that if you think about the safest thing and the safest person or the safest role in the world, it would be a mother probably, nurturing and caring and protective and whatever. And the idea that the mother is also sort of the main bad person, for want of a better phrase, that I thought the combination of those two things was really fun to just kind of play. So I just sort of tried to play both as best that I could, and then tried to let them overlap a little bit sometimes, and hope that was interesting, if not a little scary.
Tom, for you, you've been working for decades. You have 2 Emmys. But for many people, this is an introduction to you, and a wonderful one. I'm curious, just if you don't mind my asking, was this an offer? Did you have to go through hoops? Did you have to read with Laura? What was the whole process for you to get this incredible role?
Yeah, no, it wasn't an offer. I auditioned, but I have to say I didn't have to jump through hoops, which was nice. I went in and I read the scenes with Alexa Fogel, who's the casting director for Ozark, and then I would imagine that she sent the tapes on to Chris and maybe Jason and Laura. I'm not sure. But no, that was it. It was just the one audition. And then a few weeks later, I got the call, which, feels good. You feel respected. And everything about this experience was kind of, platinum level work experience, starting with the audition process.
Did you have to binge the first 2 seasons? Be honest, Tom, or had you already watched them?
No, I'd done it. As soon as season 2, for some reason, I missed season 1. When season 2 came out, I binged 1 and 2 in a week.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now, there are some super eagle-eyed Ozark viewers who took note of a line, I think in the 4th episode of the first season, where Wendy is worried about the bird's son, and she says, "I hope he doesn't end up taking after my brother." So do you guys have a sense that this was all long crafted by your writers, that if you got to season 3, you would bring in this brother character, or was that meant to be kind of a throwaway line just to add some depth to Wendy's family dynamic? Laura, what do you think about that?
The line originally actually wasn't there. And Jason and I were doing the scene in the boat, and I felt that we needed something to anchor our fear about Skylar's mental illness, about Jonah's mental illness more. So Chris was actually on the set that day, and I talked to Jason about it first, and then made a request, can we put in some line about someone's family, whether it was Jason's family or my family, just so that there was the resonance of mental illness would be a little more higher stakes for us. So we came up with that in the boat, Jason and I, and they wrote the line in. And then after that, there were jokes every once in a while through the next 2 seasons about when's the brother going to show up? and then luckily the brother showed up.
That's amazing.
So that was something that sort of just came up out of organically in that boat between Jason and I.
Oh, that's great. Okay, good. I love that. There's a couple of specific moments I want to ask you guys about for each of you with your characters this season. Jason, I was mesmerized by the morning after Marty comes back from the kidnapping, and he's in the kitchen making breakfast for the family. And I mean, the performance that you gave in that moment was it's unforgettable. How did you get at, I mean, obviously a lot of it's in the writing and how, the stoicism that Marty's going to show coming back, but how did you get at specifically that moment that morning and how you were going to play it?
Well, thank you. It's probably a longer, more complicated answer than you're looking for here. But there was I think a desire in the writing and in the story for Marty to kind of go to a much more heightened place, a place that was much more different than he was before he left. But I was aware of a lot of the storylines, the scripts that were going to follow there, and I didn't feel like what was in sort of, not in dialogue, but written in the action in the episode you're talking about, in that he's a different person now. And also, I think there's one line, I think even Tom, I think your character says it, that I'm much different now. It wasn't really supported in the scenes or in the episodes that followed, and so I actually pulled a lot of that down, and for just kind of played him. Marty just sort of has got an idea, Marty.
Let me chime in for a second. Jason really fought for that tenor. For the tenor of that, for the whole projection of his character in that episode. And there were conversations about it. And his instinct was really right, but he really fought to keep it within a lane that was narrower than I think what most people thought it originally should have been. So he really fought for that.
I just feel like, thanks for saying that, Laurie. It's the lane that I think Marty plays in this show, and I think it's a really important one that Chris really tries to maintain, is while as an actor and maybe even as a writer you want to kind of hit the hammer every once in a while, it is important to I think the overall structure of the show, considering there's so many outrageous moments that the family goes through, the story goes through, that Marty's got to kind of keep it simmering. And if he ever really does explode or kind of lose it, you sort of spend a little bit of the energy that I think the show best is served by staying somewhat contained. So sometimes it's not, big, huge, crazy scenes are fun to play as an actor, but that's not really Marty's job for the most part, or at least thus far. If we get to do more episodes, maybe he goes off the air. I don't know, but I do love playing the person who's trying to keep it together, and it really affords the other characters, the writing, the danger, to really take bigger swings, and I like doing that in comedies as well. But we'll see what's coming for Marty. This was a really incredible season for Laura's character Wendy to she makes that big move at the end of season 2. And then we see in season 3 kind of the bill that is dropped at that character's feet, and then exacerbated by Tom's character coming to town, and it's I just loved it.
If there's a phrase that maybe has kind of exploded from season 3, it's got to be "bitch wolf." Yeah. It's just such a great moment of Ruth's.
But not just it's the F word in front.
I know. I just don't know what I can say on YouTube, Julia. I'm trying to be a boy. Right.
I know.
Right.
I'm going to say it right now. I can't tell you what a fun time. I never had so much fun. It's the best, most fun feeling fighting with Laura Linney on screen. I love it. It was but that I was terrified by that scene because, I think we shot that. We woke up at 4 a.m. and we had to be on set at 5. But the night before we were in LA for the Emmys, so that it was kind of one of those things that I was enjoying that night, but I was because when I have a scene like that, I get so nervous days leading up for it that I can't really think about anything else. So there was a part of me that I wish that I don't know. I was just kind of I was so preoccupied still with that scene at the end. I was yeah, this is great. But I was oh my God, but the bitch wolf scene.
So after you have to call Laura, the loveliest woman on the planet, an
Yes.
effing bitch wolf, and cut is said, do you then like go over and give her a hug? I mean, what happens at the right?
Of course. I mean, yeah. Also, like, Laura's like she's the most fun to hug, even if you're not having a bitch wolf scene. So, I mean, I would do that anyway. But, yeah, but that was a crazy day. I mean, I don't know. How was it for you, Laura? We never really discussed we kind of just went to Crafty like right after. We never really talked.
Well, it was such a big weekend. We were coming off just such excitement between Jason winning and you winning, and it was so much fun. We had such a good time.
I know that I was just like, and then we had to get up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, but how great,
Yeah,
but how great.
I have to say,
it was great.
And it was also the first time our show had been given like a real push of approval by a large group of people. So I think, and I remember being very tired, but it was, it's what you do. You have those great, exciting weekends, and then you go back to work and you try and put some mud on the wall that sticks.
Can I just say, as somebody who had a really great seat to watch these two actors go at it in that scene, I think my character had like one line, so I just got to watch the whole thing. And for the other, for the actors that are watching this interview, I'm sure everyone can relate to being in a scene with another actor, and it's a long scene. You're kind of going at one another. The characters are supposed to fight, and there's sort of an unsaid negotiation that happens as far as rhythm goes and volume goes, and who's going to lead, who's going to attack, who's going to alpha, who's going to beta. And those are things that need to be kind of figured out in performance, because they might be there in the writing, but it's altogether different once you see what the other actor's bringing as far as energy goes on. It was so incredible to watch these two actors negotiate in the kindest of ways without ever even speaking. So I love just watching them kind of notice, oh, she's going to do this. Okay, so now I may have a plan to do this, but you kind of pull it back a little bit because you both don't want to be screaming and you both don't want to be passive, and sort of figuring out what the right ratio, what the right recipe is in that scene. Not to take anything away from Alec, who was directing the episode, he did an incredible job by watching it as well. And they just that's a tricky scene because it was so hot and so long that the fact that it didn't peak and then just become sort of plateaued all the way through is really a testament to their taste and their ability. It was really fun to watch.
Okay, 2 other scenes I want to ask about for anyone watching this who hasn't finished the season. Please stop the video now. Janet, I could not believe it. I should have known it was coming at the end of the last episode. Of course I should have known. But the way it happened, and I like paused it and did the slow-mo because I wanted to see what you did. I know you haven't watched it yet, but it's like so completely convincing.
I have watched that scene.
Oh, you have? Okay. Okay, so let me take a step back and ask, what was your reaction when you first either heard that this was going to happen or read it in a script? And then secondly, how many times did you have to do it, the actual gunshot?
I knew it was going to happen from the moment I signed my contract and knew how many episodes I was doing. And I knew the arc of the character certainly in season 3. And then when we came to do it, I think we rehearsed it. Like 50 times or something. We rehearsed it so many times because if you can imagine the reset in between all of that would have taken a very long time, with all the things that you have to take off and all the things that has to be put on again. So that would have taken forever. So I think we rehearsed it. What do you say, guys? Like 50 times at least into that little bit. And then when we shot it.
Well, on multiple days too.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a long time. And then that actual bit, I think, that you're referring to, I think we shot it once. Would that be right?
That's right. Yeah.
One. But we probably rehearsed that whole sequence for,
There were teams of people who organized that. And they got it on the first take.
And
Amazing.
I remember reading that scene. I had to read it 3 times because I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun. And the thing that's really fun to do in a scene like that is to be a red herring. So that you always get the chance to kind of go, I'm about to say something else, or my expectation of the scene is to be really kind of happy, because then it always misleads your audience into thinking something else might happen. So I was basically trying to look as relaxed, that was another email, as relaxed, as slightly arrogant, and slightly absolutely I know what I'm going to say next. And it's a very long scene. And then, boom.
Oh my gosh, so good.
I know, nice bit of misleading.
Yeah, it was great. And then Laura and Tom, the stuff with the two of you in the car, I really think affected a lot of people as far as just the dynamic between brother and sister, but also, bringing mental health issues to the forefront in the show. And it was just so powerful, all the stuff, the whole journey that you guys go, the actual journey of the road trip, and then the emotional journey. What do you guys recall about all the time that you spent, in tight quarters doing that?
Go, Tom.
I was in heaven. It's like you have this incredible writing, and in particular, some of the scenes in the car and in that van. I thought there was Mickey Johnson, right, who wrote that episode 9. It was just like poetry. I thought the writing was so incredible, and then there you are playing scenes in a van with Laura Linney all night. It's like we had Alec directing, and it was kind of you just have those moments sometimes at work where you sort of take it in that it gets no better than this, and those were those moments for me, and I'll always cherish them.
Well, and Tom did such an amazing job of jumping into an ensemble that had already been together for a while. And that's not easy to do. It's really hard just to jump in and join a group. And it was just, a joy from the first day he showed up, and I'm still grieving. So there you
go. We all are.
Well, you guys made it very easy. Very easy.
How did they do that, Tom? How did you feel welcomed by the cast and the crew?
Yeah, just in every possible way. All of these people are incredible actors who I've admired for years, and there's no sense of that when you meet them. You come to that set, and it really felt like being invited over to someone's home for a barbecue or something. And then all of a sudden you're talking to Jason and Laura and Janet, Julia. Everybody's so friendly, everybody's so down to earth, the crew is relaxed, the atmosphere is, everybody's respectful, everybody's supporting each other. There's no tension, there's no drama, there's no egos. It's a really special place to go to work, and that doesn't happen by accident. So it's just really cool to get to go to work somewhere like that.
Before we wrap up, I can only imagine, well, things are crazy now because you're not out and about, obviously, but so many people love this show and either have loved it all the way through and then really love this 3rd season, or discovered it because they've been home. I'm curious to know, whether recently or just overall, who have you guys found out is an Ozark fanatic that really got you excited when you found that out?
Someone was on a treadmill next to Obama, and I heard that he likes what we're doing, which is pretty great. So that did it for me. That kind of blew my mind.
Who else?
I read somewhere, which is also, for me, it's exciting for me because I love him, that he was watching it, was Larry David. So love Larry David. So when I read that he was watching it, I was like, oh, that's cool. But right when Jason said it after Obama, I'm like, yes, Larry David. Oh my God. Okay. Obama. Love Obama too. Love Larry David.
Come on, guys. Who else?
And then didn't LeBron James do a tweet one season?
He did. Okay. That's true too. LeBron, we have Obama, we have Larry David, and we have LeBron.
I'm covered.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, what a pleasure it is to be with all of you. Tom Pelphrey, Janet Mcteer, Julia Garner, Laura Linney, Jason Bateman. A wonderful season, a wonderful group of people. And thank you so much for being here for this SAG-AFTRA conversation at home. Hopefully we get to see each other.
Thank you for being here, Dave.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.